Hello, this is Robert Polenic, the owner of Brutal Iron Gym. I'm here today for another video in the Ask Rob video series. And the topic that we're going to talk today is the overall approach that I take in order to get clients to reach their goals. Whether the goal is weight loss or muscle mass gain, basically the overall approach that I take is kind of the question that was posed to me recently, and that's what this video is going to be about. So I'll just kind of start out a little list of notes I have. So if I look away from the camera, because I'm looking down at those. But we'll go through kind of the overall approach I take, step by step through nutrition and training, and just give you guys, the viewers, kind of like a guideline to where if you want to try this stuff on your own, you're welcome to, or if you're interested in just trying to figure out what I do with people, this will kind of explain it for you. So the first thing we do in terms of nutrition, which is pretty much what everybody wants to know about right away, is how we change person's nutrition, or the focus points we take on nutrition in order to get them to reach their goal. So like I said, everything I'm going to discuss is actually for people who want to lose weight as well as people who want to put on muscle mass. So the overall approach you take is based on the same guidelines or the same principles. You just change a few of the little mechanisms in between. So the first thing we do is we want to focus on changing their mindset towards nutrition. So you want to think of what we're going to do in terms with our nutrition. We want to think of it as a lifestyle rather than some temporary plan or temporary diet. So I don't like to use the word diet too often, and usually when I do use the word diet, all I mean is that we're eating in a structured manner. So a diet doesn't automatically imply that you're trying to lose weight. You can be on a diet to gain muscle or to gain weight. Diet is really just trying to eat in a structured manner. So we want to create a lifestyle rather than something that's temporary, something that's, say like in 10 weeks I want to look like this. You know, say in 10 weeks you want to lose, say 30 pounds. So you go through all this craziness, eat nothing, do a whole bunch of weird crap to get that weight off, and then all of a sudden when you get there, what do now? So what we want to do is we want to create a lifestyle of eating that's something you can sustain in order to reach your goal, but also something you can keep doing after the goal is already met. So you can stay healthy and stay at your new target, say, weight in terms of going for weight loss. If you're trying to build muscle, how can you then keep that muscle on you? So that's kind of the approach we want to take mentally, is thinking of it more of a lifestyle rather than a temporary madness. So the first thing we kind of comes up over is I'll ask people when they come in and talk to me, either in person or over the phone. I'll ask them how many meals a day they already eat. So I'll go through, I'll ask them what time they wake up, you know, when's their first meal, what do they have, when's their next meal, what do they have, that kind of stuff. And I usually try to do this to get a feel for how often they eat and the types of foods that they're selecting. So I do give someone a nutrition plan. We try to fit in as many meals as we can into their daily schedule. So a meal doesn't necessarily mean that they're sitting down to eat the food. So a meal can be something just as quick as a couple bites to eat, you know, in between classes if they're a college student, if they're going to work, maybe even driving to work or driving home from work. So going in between meetings, stuff like that. So it doesn't have to be something where you sit down and cook the food. It can be something quick like a snack. But we want to fit as many feedings, so we want to fit as many meals as we can into the day. So one of the main reasons why I do that is there's a common term that's maybe not common, but it's common in my world, is thermic effect of food. And what that means is that it refers to the amount of energy your body has to put into getting energy out from food. So when you eat something, it contains X amount of calories, but your body has to work to get those calories out of that food. So it has to break that food down, break it down into its individual components so that we can get some energy from it. So thermic effect of food is directly related to how much and how often we eat. So if I only eat twice a day, my body only has to put in work twice a day in order to break down that food. So if we eat more often, our body has to put in work more often throughout the day in order to get calories. So can you reach your goal if your schedule only permits 2 to 3 meals a day? Yes. Can you reach your goal if your schedule allows 5 or 6? Yes. We simply want to fit as many meals as we can into your schedule. And like I said, this all refers back to trying to create a lifestyle. So instead of forcing you to eat 6 meals a day, when your schedule doesn't permit that and it's something you have to struggle to do, we don't want you to struggle to eat healthy. We want you to be able to eat healthy with ease, so that we can continue to do it even after your goal is met. So again, we try to eat as often as we can to maximize the energy that our body has to put into breaking down food, but we do try to get as many meals as we can based on your schedule. So you don't want to be forced, you want it to be relatively easy. So you do have to kind of have a little bit of, let's say you have the potential to have a meal, but you kind of forget about it all the time, or you really just don't feel like taking the time to do that. That's not usually a valid excuse. So when I say it doesn't fit your schedule, is maybe you actually have a job you're not allowed to eat during that time. So we wouldn't have a meal during that time. So the next thing we try to do is try to have protein in every single meal. So protein does a lot of stuff in our body. So it grows our hair, grows our nails, grows muscle tissue. It's involved in the formation of cells, it's enzymes, it balances the pH in your blood, it controls body temperature, it does a whole bunch of crap in the body. So it's a very important nutrient, so we have to have it. So also protein is, out of the three macronutrients, which is fat, carbs, and protein, protein is the least likely to be converted over to body fat if it's eaten in excess. And also it's very hard to eat excess protein. So especially if you're doing a nutritional plan combined with exercise, so resistance training where you're doing some weight training, your protein requirements are going to be higher than usual, so eating a little extra protein isn't going to hurt. So in general, I don't really have a target number that I try to get clients to in terms of the exact amount of grams of protein that they eat. We simply want to try to eat protein at every meal. And then based on the results we're getting, if they can afford to eat more protein and still look good, then we eat more protein. So we try to eat as much food as we can while still reaching our goals. So we don't want to take away too much food all the time because your metabolism will kind of tank and it gets harder and harder to get even more body fat off. So you try to eat protein at every meal. How much protein? I'm going to throw some numbers out here, but to be honest with you, it just depends on the individual. So overall, I think my minimal target for people is to get about 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if they weigh 200 pounds, they eat 200 grams. If they weigh 150 pounds, they eat 150 grams of protein. So then we just divide up those grams of protein by the amount of meals they have. So if they have 4 meals, you take their target goal divided by 4, then that's how many grams they should have at each meal. So let's say that the person's goal is to eat, say, 150 grams of protein a day. They can only get 3 meals per day, so that would be 50 grams of protein per meal. So they want to try and get as close to that number as they can for each meal. So maybe one meal they only have 40, the next one they try to have 60. So you try to create a little bit of balance throughout the day, but you do want to try to divide up the protein intake as evenly as you can. So like I said, that's more of a minimal amount, is a gram of protein per pound of body weight. And then also a lot of times is if we're trying to create a lifestyle of eating, we don't want to count grams all the time. So it's going to be annoying if you're going to do math all day. So if you're trying to figure out grams of this, grams of that. So like I said, you can do that to get started. So if you're trying to figure out where to start from, you can start by counting your grams, and then eventually you want to learn not to do that. So what I do with clients is most oftentimes I'm judging it based on the volume of food that they're eating. So a lot of the clients I work with, I have a ballpark figure of how many calories they're eating, how many grams of fat, how many grams of carbs, grams of protein. But overall, I don't really know the exact numbers because that's not that important. So what we do is we do keep track of certain numbers just to make sure we're always making progress and stuff like that. And but overall, what we want to do is focus on eating just some form of protein every meal. Then if you feel like you need more, then you eat more. If you need less, you eat less, that kind of thing. So how much is enough? It kind of depends on recovery, general health, that kind of thing. So that's where being the nutritionist, those numbers become more important. But if we're trying to focus on a lifestyle where you're not working with a nutritionist, trying to do this on your own, then you don't really want to worry too much about it. You want to try to eat just some form of protein every meal. So whether you're trying to get, say, 4 to 6 ounces of meat in at your meal, get some eggs, get cheese, even peanut butter has some protein in it. So there's a lot of protein sources you have available to you. It's just trying to figure out which ones you like and at which times of the day. So some people like to eat eggs for breakfast, but they don't eat eggs the rest of the day, that kind of thing. So we do try to have some form of protein at every meal. So the next thing we try to do is we try to select either carbs or fat along with that protein. So at every meal we have protein, but at every meal we have either a carb or a fat. So carbs and fats are kind of our energy nutrients. Those are the kind of two things that our body breaks down to get energy for. So carbohydrates, that's pretty much the only thing it does in the body. Our brain does run off of kind of the byproduct of carbohydrates, but it can break down its fuel from fats as well. So carbs aren't 100% necessary for the body. Doesn't mean you should cut them out. You shouldn't follow like a zero-carb diet if you don't have to. Carbs aren't that bad, but they do need to be controlled. And then fats, dietary fats, they will do some other stuff in our body. It does help with, say, muscle formation, some other odds and ends. So fats also need to be in our diet as well. So when I tell people, sometimes they'll come in, they'll compare the style of diet that I use with, say, like Atkins diet, South Beach diet, Weight Watchers, that kind of stuff. There's not really a structure to the diet as much as it is just controlling carbohydrates. So we try to avoid sugar. We control the amount of energy nutrients that we take in. So we always want to have high amounts of protein, and then we vary the amounts of carbohydrates and fats depending on whatever our goal is, whether it's weight loss or muscle gain. So that's kind of the overall approach. But at each meal with your protein source, you want to have either a healthy carb option or a healthy fat option. So, and what those sources are depends on the person's preferences and yada, yada, yada. So the whole eggs, for example, they'll have some healthy fat in there. So that's a good one. Natural peanut butter has some healthy fats. There's various types of oils that have healthy fats as well. And then also in terms of carbohydrates, I tend to use a lot of brown rice. Sometimes that upsets people's stomach. So you can use sweet potatoes. There's wheat pasta. Sometimes people don't like to use wheat, you know, if they have different issues. So a lot of times the carbohydrate source that we take in does depend on the person. So if they have a gluten intolerance or something like that, then that's going to change what carbohydrates we take as opposed to somebody who doesn't have a gluten intolerance. Likewise, if somebody looks for protein but they're lactose intolerant, their protein sources are going to be different than someone who isn't. Also, if you're a vegetarian versus not a vegetarian. So all this stuff does come down to personal preferences. So, but overall, we eat protein at every meal with either a fat or a carbohydrate at that meal as well. So again, that's kind of the general approach, is a lifestyle of eating. We fit into as many meals as we can into our schedule. We focus on protein at every meal, along with either a fat or a carbohydrate. Okay? The next thing we want to do that is we want to reduce the amount of sugar we take in throughout the day. So the key word here is reduce, not eliminate. So you don't have to eliminate all forms of sugar. You simply just need to reduce the amount of sugar you eat. So we also want to avoid eating anything that's kind of a direct amount of sugar that's pretty much useless for the body. So two examples of this is sweet tea. Since my gym is in South Carolina, we're in the South, people drink sweet tea down here like crazy, so I swear it runs through their blood. But sweet tea pretty much doesn't do anything for us. It's just a big cup full of liquid sugar. So you want to try to avoid that as much as you can. And another example of sugar intake that people don't realize is fruit. So many forms of fruit is pretty much just straight sugar. However, fruit does have vitamins and minerals in it, so at least it gets something from us. So sweet tea does not have vitamins and minerals, no matter how much you argue with yourself. It doesn't. So it's not very useful. However, fruit, it does have vitamins and minerals. So do you need to eliminate fruit completely? Maybe to get to a certain body image, yes. But for the general population, no. You simply just need to kind of reduce or control the amount of fruit that you eat. So another thing that people kind of argue with is they say you have to have fruit in order to be quote-unquote healthy. So again, oftentimes fruit is recommended because there's vitamins and minerals in it, but so does a multivitamin supplement. So if you're reducing your fruit intake and you're worried about vitamins and minerals, then you want to go ahead and take a multivitamin supplement. And for almost all clients I work with, I go ahead and recommend that right away. In general, when people come to me, they have often been eating some weird form of diet. So they might not have been holding back on all foods. They might have been eating a bunch of food. But still, what it tends to happen with people is they'll tend to eat similar foods all the time. so they might be missing a lot of various fruits and vegetables, so they're already kind of a deficiency in vitamins and minerals. So multivitamin certainly isn't going to hurt at all, so you might as well check that in there to make sure they have the right amounts that they need throughout the day. So again, that's one thing we work on, is trying to avoid or simply reduce having too much sugar throughout the day. So the less sugar you have, in general, the better you're going to appear. So the better body image you'll have. So the next thing we have is what to do when you want to have some cheat foods. So let's say you've been eating real clean all week for a couple days or something like that, and you want to go out and have a slice of pizza, you want to have a hamburger or something fun. Like we said, the overall approach on this is to create a lifestyle of eating. So you don't need to be miserable all the time and never have pizza ever again for the rest of your life. You simply just want to eat that stuff in a controlled manner. So what I tend to do for myself and for clients is, if they work out that day, they can kind of have a reward of food. You don't want to do that all the time, because otherwise you'll be spinning your wheels. If every time you work out you go home and have a bowl of ice cream, you're still going to get fat, regardless of whether you worked out or not. So you only want to do it, say, maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. You go out and you try not to splurge on stuff. So it does depend on the person. Some people are all or nothing people. So they either have to have, everything on the menu at a fast food place, or they have to have none of it. So I worked with one person recently, and his blood sugar during a workout was getting really low because he hadn't eaten anything that day. It was the first time we worked together, so I didn't think to ask him. This was 6 o'clock in the evening, and I found out all he had was a couple pieces of fruit and a salad. So by the time 6 o'clock rolled around, that was quite a surprise to me. So lesson learned on my part. But the person was severely eating throughout the day. So when they came to me, the blood sugar dropped pretty low. So what I did was I mixed up a little bit of sugar from a Gatorade powder, gave that to him to help him feel a little bit better. And he informed me that that was the first time he had had Gatorade in quite a few years. So that was kind of a surprise to me. Good for him to have that willpower. But it is one of those things where some people are that way. They need to avoid everything, or they're just going to binge on it. So if you're that type of person, try to avoid it for a while, but then don't be afraid to have it when you're about ready to crack. So if you're going crazy, then go ahead and throw it in there. But have it on a workout day. That'll kind of help you, it'll help blunt the negative effects of that food. So if you're someone that has to have a little bit of a cheat all the time, that's not going to work either. So you do have to restrict yourself a little bit. You have to say no every now and then. So in general, what I do for people is, if they have a job that they work Monday through Friday and they're already pretty structured, we'll go ahead and make Monday through Friday our biggest progression time. So we'll cut out all junk food or cheap stuff Monday through Friday. And then if they want to have 1 or 2 meals on the weekend, they can go ahead and do that. We do try to avoid, like I said, try to avoid binges. We don't want to have like 10,000 calories at one meal. So simply, if they've been hungry for a hamburger, they'll go out and have a hamburger. So maybe a hamburger, a couple of French fries, and that's it. So they're not going to sit at the restaurant and try to eat for 7 hours, eating everything they can. So it's just 1 or 2 meals on the weekend. You kind of enjoy yourself. And like I said, it comes down to creating a lifestyle. So we know you're going to eat pizza at some point in your life. You're going to eat burgers. You're going to eat ice cream. You just want to eat it in a controlled manner. So make sure you're eating more healthy stuff than you're eating crappy stuff. And in general, you'll get your goal. So if somebody does have a more severe goal where they want to get to, say, contest condition, where they have veins in their abs and they look amazing, so we want to go ahead and cut out stuff like that as we get closer to the show. So the one thing you want to think about is, the more extreme result you want, the more extreme effort you'll have to put in. So if you're someone who's 80 pounds overweight and you just want to go down to, say, 30 pounds overweight, you're not going to need to do the same things of somebody who's 80 pounds overweight and wants to get into contest shape. So that would take quite a while, to be honest. But that's the kind of thing, is if you want an extreme end, you've got to do some extreme stuff to get there. So if you're looking for, say, generally quote-unquote healthy image, body image, then you're okay to have a cheat meal every now and then. You just want to have it in a controlled manner. So the next thing we talk about is, and again, as I stare away at you because I'm looking at notes, is the overall approach we want to do. If we're trying to lose weight, you don't want to continually take food away. So you don't want to eat less and less and less and less and less until you get to your goal. Because what tends to happen is, as you eat less, your body will adjust to that lower calorie intake, and now you need to take away even more food in order to continue to lose body fat. So over time, someone who's eating, say, 2,000 calories, if they take that away, they go down to 1,600, what happens is over time their body it'll drop the body fat, but then it gets used to 1,600, and then if they want to continue to lose body fat, they've got to take away even more calories. So you don't want to focus too much on taking away food as much as you're trying to just clean up your calorie intake and eat healthier foods. So if you can eat 1,600 calories, if you're currently eating 1,600 calories of crap, if you switch to eating 1,600 calories of healthy stuff, that will actually make you leaner. You'll actually lose body fat, you'll look better, even without a reduction in calories. So just simply picking healthier options of foods will make a difference, and that'll help you lose weight. The other approach we take is you also want to, as you're trying to clean up your food, you want to go ahead and engage in some form of exercise. So if the person isn't doing any exercise at all, I usually have them start to do some resistance training. So we'll do maybe 2 workouts a week along with the healthy food, and the workouts will help promote some muscle damage. So if the muscle is damaged, your body will put in energy and efforts to fix that muscle. So that way it burns off not more calories, but it just has more to do with that food instead of storing that food away as body fat. And it'll have to break down more body fat for energy as we go throughout the day. So having muscle damage just makes our body work harder and therefore makes us look leaner. So that's why weight training is very important for weight loss, is you want to have muscle damage. This is also one of the arguments, not really an argument, but one of the things that comes up as I talk to clients is we do want to place more focus on resistance training rather than cardio. So if we think of like steady state cardio or low intensity cardio, where say I'm just jogging for an hour straight, that's extremely ineffective for weight loss, very ineffective. So what will happen is if you just start it, if you haven't been doing it, and you start, say, jogging for an hour every day, you'll get an initial weight loss, but then things will kind of stagnate and they'll stop. And then you're like, okay, well, an hour a day is no longer working, let me do an hour and a half. Then you'll get some results, it'll stop. Now you're 2 hours, you get some results, you're going to stop. And all of a sudden you find yourself on a treadmill for like 3 or 4 hours a day, and you're still not where you want to be in terms of fat loss. So, and usually what happens, well, people will do that form of cardio along with that calorie dropping of a diet, and all of a sudden they'll find themselves eating 800 calories a day, doing 3 or 4 hours of cardio, and they're nowhere close to their goal. And then they're trying to ask themselves, like, what more can I do? You know, they think they have to take away even more food or do even more cardio, and then there's no way to sustain an 800-calorie diet with 4 hours of activity in the gym per day. It's ridiculous. So that's not the approach you want to take. So like I said, with food, is you want to eat healthier food, and you actually want to eat as much food as you possibly can while still losing the weight, if that's your goal, is fat loss. So like I said, it's picking very healthy things, things that make your body work harder to get the calories out of. So a lot of times I put people on diets, they actually complain about how much they have to eat, but they'll still lose weight. So somebody will lose a pant size or 2 while they're bitching and moaning about eating too much food. So it does help kind of prevent them from feeling like they're starving, but it's also taking advantage of the metabolism of the body. We're actually spiking the metabolism and making their body work faster and harder throughout the day, so they can actually get away with more and more food. So getting back to the cardio is steady state cardio, where you're just doing a low intensity for a long period of time. Doesn't work very well. It's not sustainable in terms of progression. So what you want to do is instead have them do intervals. So what we'll do is we'll have, say, a period of time where they're going at a very high intensity, and then a short period of time where they're at a low intensity, and they switch back and forth. So that form of cardio, number one, you don't have to be in the gym as long, so you can actually get more results out of less time, and it doesn't lower your metabolism over time. So like I said, if you're doing the steady state running, say I'm jogging for an hour, eventually my body adjusts to that, and that's no longer difficult. However, if I do, say, 1 minute where I run as fast as I possibly can, and then I do 2 minutes of, say, a walk, 1 minute of running as fast as I can, and you switch back and forth, it takes a very long time, if ever, for your body to really adjust to that. and it doesn't lower your metabolism. So, and also you can't be doing 1-minute sprints for that long, so you might only be on the treadmill for say 10 minutes versus an hour, and you're actually getting more results out of that 10 minutes than you would for that hour. So that's the type of approach we take for cardio. Is if we're going to use cardio, and I'll use it for weight loss clients usually, is we'll use cardio in interval style. So the first thing we do though is we change their food. The second thing is to have them resistance train, and then we would add the cardio. So the cardio is definitely not the most productive or most important aspect. Number one is the food, by far. Number two is resistance training, and that's definitely far ahead of cardio. So cardio is the last piece we use, and that's how we're going to use it, if we do use it, is in intervals. So if somebody's trying to gain muscle mass, very rarely do I ever use cardio. I might structure their workouts to where they're doing, say, supersets. If you don't know what that term is, it's okay. But basically, we structure their weight training to where there's some cardio aspect involved in their weights, but they're still lifting very heavy. So that way they can get, say, lung health. We can keep them in good cardiovascular shape, but they don't have to actually do any cardio on a cardio piece of equipment, such as the treadmill. So if they're trying to build muscle, it's, again, food is the most important thing. The second most important thing is resistance training, and the least important thing, or the last thing you would do, is cardio. So that's kind of the overall approach we take in order to get someone in shape, is we want to create a lifestyle of eating. You want to eat as often as you can, as your schedule permits. You eat protein every meal. You eat either carbs or fats with that meal. We take away as much sugar as we can get away with, so you want to reduce your sugar intake. And then finally, let's see if I get all this correct. Let's see here. The cheat foods, try to eat those in a smart manner. So try not to gorge yourself just a little bit here and there, and have it on workout days to help blunt the negative effect of the food. And then, like I said, you try to focus more on food, and then weight training, and then cardio. So that's the order we kind of take. So some other notes I have about training is we want to resistance train. Like I said, that's the approach we'll take more so than cardio. You want to do it as often as the schedule permits. So if you're able to get to the gym, say 4 or 5 days a week, that's great. So go ahead and take advantage of that schedule. We'll get you in the gym 4 or 5 days a week. If your schedule only permits, say, 2 or 3 days a week, then so be it. We'll take advantage of that. So I have many clients that we'll only meet twice a week in the gym, and along with a healthy diet, that's all they need. So 2 resistance training sessions per week, plus proper nutrition, and they're right where they need to be. So like I said, you can train more often than that if you want, or if your schedule permits, and it does help. So the more often you train, the more calories you'll be able to eat, the more food you'll be able to eat. So that's kind of the approach we take with resistance training. And also we will focus on trying to get the person a lot stronger. So we work on strength training. There's many reasons why, but strength is directly related to quality of life. So if someone has low strength levels, their quality of life is very low. So we want to get someone as strong as we can, so that way as they age, their quality of life stays as high as possible. Also, when you train for strength, it does involve some heavy weights, so that'll promote more muscle damage as opposed to lightweight circuit training. So if you do lightweight circuit training, it gets you out of breath, but it doesn't really cause muscle damage. So once you stop doing it, you kind of have no more benefit. So whereas from heavy resistance training, once you stop training, that's actually when the benefit starts. Is your body now has to work to repair all that muscle tissue. So if you're doing something where it looks like you're busy, so you're staying busy, you're jumping rope, moving around some light weights here and there, you're out of breath, you're huffing and puffing, that might be all good, but once you stop it, there's no more benefit to it. So that's not the worst thing in the world to do, but it's not very productive. So you do want to lift some heavy weights to get some muscle damage. So that's the key to getting long-term results, and also to get changes and adaptations in your muscles. So if you want to have nice curves to your muscles, you've got to break them down so the body will build them back up in the shape that you want. So if you're not doing anything to damage the muscle, how in the world is the muscle going to change? It doesn't make any sense, but some people will do that. So they do, I'm trying not to name exact examples of training. I don't really know why I have to be politically correct in these videos, but if I name one thing, people will rip me apart for it, I'm sure, and that's assuming anyone watches this video. But certain forms of training, they don't have muscle damage involved, therefore they're kind of a waste of time. So a fun activity maybe you enjoy the social aspect of it, but it's not going to get you that body image that you want. So let me look down through my notes here. That's about it. So the other thing, like I said, that's kind of the general approach that we take. A lot of this stuff does boil down to individual preferences and what fits into that specific person's schedule and all that stuff. So, but the overall approach we take, I'm not going to review that because I can't remember all of it, but it's the entire video. So the whole video explains the overall approach that we take with clients, and that's what gets us to the results that we get. So every single time I work with somebody, we're going to get the results unless they quit. So if they quit on me, then they won't get the results, but if they stick with me, I'll get them where they want to be. So it's happened hundreds and hundreds of times. So that's kind of the limiting factor is, do they want to work hard enough to get there? And like I said, this isn't the kind of work hard enough to where you're in the gym 4 hours a day. This is the kind of work hard enough to where you just eat the foods you're supposed to eat. You get in the gym as often as you're supposed to be in the gym. So I've got people in the contest shape where they have veins in their abs, they look amazing, and they're only in the gym 3 or 4 times a week at 40 minutes per time. So you don't need to be in the gym for hours a day, so it's actually usually counterproductive. So you only need to be in the gym maybe 2, 3, 4 times a week, maybe about 40 minutes to an hour at most, and then it's all done mostly through food. So food is the biggest component, and then resistance training, and then last is cardio. So hopefully I didn't ramble on too much with this video. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. But that is the overall approach that we take in order to get people in shape. So if you want some more information, or if you'd actually like to be one of my test subjects and let me beat you up, and you can contact us at www.brutalirongym.com. You can find us on Facebook and on YouTube if you search for Brutal Iron Gym. So again, hopefully you guys find this stuff helpful. If you have specific questions, feel free to email me, and again, you can find my contact information on our website. But email me and I'll help you out if you have any specific questions, and we'll make sure you get the results you want. So that's it, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.